Hi, thanks for agreeing to do the peer observation activity during this month's PD. Today I want to share with you some of the techniques or strategies to use to have a successful peer observation. The very first thing that we do for a successful peer observation is have a prior conference. This prior conference is going to be important for setting up what we do, what we're going to be looking for going forward during the observation. So we discuss the objectives for the lesson being observed. That's the very first thing. Here's what I'm teaching. Here's why I'm teaching it. Here's what I want the students to learn from doing this. We also wanted to discuss professional goals. Here's what I'm working on. I'm working on student engagement, or I'm working on asking more rigorous questions, or I'm working on formative assessments. Whatever it is that you're working on as your personal goal, we discuss here in that prior observation. Discuss what to watch for during the lesson. So again, let's say we're focusing on student engagement. Can you watch for my student engagement? I want to make sure that during my chat discussions, all my students are interacting. I know that sometimes I have these 3 students, and you can mention their names, who are not engaging. Can you kind of watch out for those students? So that's something you can discuss during this prior observation. And share why you chose different strategies. So here are my objectives. I use the Socratic method to teach these strategies because and go off from there. So give them a background. What am I about to see? What am I about to watch? Prepare that person who's going to observe your lesson for observing the lesson. The next step is going to be you yourself prepare for the observation. Don't just leave that meeting and then click on the recording and be ready to go. There's some things you want to do. First, you want to choose the correct observation form. So I have 3 examples here. Let me bring them up. This first one here, and really the observation forms that you choose are going to vary depending on what you're watching for. So, for example, this observation form here is going to be if I'm watching for student engagement. So I'll say, okay, at the 1 minute mark, 75% of students were answering a polling question because the teacher was asking a polling question, encouraging the students to answer. From the 1 minute mark to the hopefully not 45-minute mark, students were listening. The percentage of students unknown. Students were listening because the teacher was talking. So this becomes a statement, basically. Whatever's happening here at this time, this percentage of students were doing this because the teacher was doing this. So you do that, and then at the bottom of each of these forms are a couple of reflection questions that you could answer. And these forms I will email to you. So that's one of them. Let's see, we've got this one here. Let's take a look at this one. And again, it depends on what that pre-observation conference looked like. Let's say the teacher wanted to said, "Hey, I want you to pay attention to my assessment. I'm not sure if the students are meeting the objectives." So here you write the objective here, the time stamp, the formative assessment question asked, the number of students who answered correctly, the number of students who answered incorrectly, the number of students who are not answering. So you can have this whenever you go back through the teacher who's saying, "I'm struggling with assessments," or "I'm not sure about my assessments." And here's one for, say they're asking about rigor in the classroom. So I don't know if my questions are rigorous enough. So here's a form where you write the timestamp, you write the question, the DOK level of that question, number of students answering, number of students not answering. And I added this column, number of students answering correctly if appropriate. If you have like a DOK level 3 question, there's really no right or wrong answer to those questions. So that might not be appropriate for those. So you choose the right observation form for your observation. Eliminate distractions. Turn off your email. Turn off your IM. give the person the teacher that you're working with 100% of your attention, just as I know you're giving me 100% of your attention right now. Many of you right now are closing Facebook. But no, eliminate all the distractions. Don't have anything up. Put your cell phone outside of arm's length away from you, so that you can really give the other teacher what they deserve. After that, of course, a peer observation, you have to listen to a lesson. So we're going to be, of course, listening to a recording. So during the recording, again, give your partner 100% of your attention. Eliminate all the distractions. Keep those distractions turned off. This is a shared resource. You should be getting a benefit out of this. Don't just look at it as a way, oh, okay, I got to tell this teacher what to change. I got to... No, yeah, you should be looking at this as, okay, well, what's happening in other classrooms? What can I get out of this? What can I use to grow myself? So it should benefit both of you while you're listening to it. Collect data. This is what's going to make this worthwhile for the teacher that you're sharing this with, is the data that you collect. So after you listen to the recording, you're going to want to have a post-observation conference. So what's that post-observation conference going to look like? Well, first you want to describe what you saw. Don't give opinions right off the bat. Oh man, this didn't go well. Don't say something like that. Just give that data. And if you're using those forms that I just shared with you, that has a lot of data in it. So describe the data and describe why things might be happening that way along with the data. But don't go into generalizations. Again, whenever you're describing the data, for example, let's say that the teacher tends to be calling a lot on boys. So instead of saying, hey, you tend to only call on the boys in your class, say, I noticed that you called on Will 3 times. I noticed that Sandra didn't get called on once. So again, just discuss the data. Don't make generalizations. Only discuss things that are worthy of changing or encouraging. Don't say to the teacher, your voice doesn't sound very, very good on a recording. Hey, the teacher's not going to be able to change your voice overnight. Maybe they could go to voice lessons, but probably there are other things that are worth changing or encouraging. I noticed that whenever you ask this type of question, you really get a lot of your students answering. You need to be doing that more often. That's great. Actually, I'm going to bring that into my classroom. So anything that's worthy of changing or encouraging, these are the types of things that we should be discussing. And ask questions. During your part of the observation or of the conference, it shouldn't be dominated by you. Ask questions. Why did you ask this type of question? How did this type of question help to lead to this objective? These types of questions, ask them. And don't ask them for the sake of asking, but also listen to their answer. Show the teacher that you're listening. Respond to things that they're saying. So asking questions and listening is really what drives this post-observation conference. So again, here's what it's going to look like. After you're done with this recording, you're going to set up a peer observation, a pre-observation conference with your peer. So set that up, decide what room that's going to be in, that sort of thing, and meet for about 15 minutes. Take about 10 minutes to prepare for your observation and get familiar with those forms. Choose the correct form, eliminate all those distractions. Listen to the recording. Lessons should be about 45 minutes long, give or take a few minutes. So listen to that recording. Take notes during that recording. I recommend using a dual monitor if you have one. Obviously, if you don't, it's now is not the time to go get one. You'll be your partner teacher will be like, I wonder where so-and-so is, and they're at Walmart buying a second monitor. If you have a dual monitor, use that. If not, make do with what you have. And the post-observation conference, remember, you're going to be discussing 2 different lessons, so about 35 minutes there. So that is the peer observation conference. A lot of these forms and things I will send to you, or may have already sent to you in an email. So again, if you have any questions, I am currently, as you're watching this, in another session, so I probably can't answer them right away. But feel free to email me if you do have any questions that need feedback. I do have some activities that teachers will be working on in that other session, so I might have some time to check emails during that. All right. Well, thank you for your time, and have a great day.